going on, everybody? Welcome back to just another tech and gaming show. My name is Nick. I am joined by my friend and fellow gamer, Victor. And today, we're going to be talking about the Game Awards 2019. Just wanted to do a quick video with our thoughts and opinions on it. So, Victor, I didn't watch the whole thing. I happened to catch some highlights. I watched some trailers. I saw some of those announcements. I didn't think the Game Awards was too bad. Did you watch it as well?
Yeah, I watched it. It was very long. For those of you who haven't watched it, put some time aside because it is lengthy.
So you watched the whole thing though, didn't you?
Yep, watched the whole thing. Skipped a few parts, but retained all of the information.
You mean you didn't catch Green Day at the Game Awards?
I caught maybe
That
a
was
minute
weird.
of it. Yeah, it was definitely weird. But hey, I mean,
Yeah, I didn't know how to feel about it, but it is what it is.
yeah. Other than that, though, I think it was very good. There's a lot of different things I've seen in that I haven't usually seen before in the Game Awards. I've not really been one to be like, oh my gosh, the Game Awards, I need to watch it now. This past Game Awards, really kind of
It's kind of pushing you towards the I need to be watching this yearly.
yeah. It doesn't hurt. I mean, it's really good information, a lot of good stuff. So I'm very happy with it.
I think it's pretty cool. I enjoy it. I don't know how I feel about it yet because I don't really want to watch from start to finish. I feel like it's a very long and padded event, and I think that getting recaps and watching the trailers separate outside of the Game Awards is still my way to enjoy it. But I do think that they had a pretty good one. I think they had some decent announcements. There were a few that I really enjoyed. And we have a couple of games to talk about, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Who won? And we're actually not going to do the nominees, other than for the first category, which is the overall Game of the Year. So I wanted to talk about that real quick to start us off. We have Game of the Year, the overall Game of the Year. The Game Awards categorizes this as recognizing a game that delivers the absolute best experience across all creative and technical fields. Our nominees were Control, Death Stranding, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, Resident Evil 2, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and The Outer Worlds. And the winner was Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. Now, I feel that all of the nominees were well deserved to be in that category. I don't really think that they missed any that I would put in there myself. I think that Sekiro easily comes out on top and is a phenomenal game. And that's my opinion. I don't think that you have played it yet, though.
No.
And I would highly encourage you to pick up a copy. I've played it. I have not beaten it yet. Happy to have it. I think that it's really great. And I do think that it easily deserves the title of the winner of Game of the Year of 2019 from the Game Awards. And I do want to mention, I kind of feel like it's a big achievement. And it might not seem like it is because this is a studio that's really tried and true. From Software is the developer. They developed the Dark Souls game. They developed Demon Souls way back in the day for PS3. They also developed Bloodborne. And so it's kind of a natural progression to come to this game and for it to, continually get better in quality. The shocking thing to me was that Activision is the publisher on this one. And the reason why I say that's so shocking to me is because Activision usually doesn't deliver such solid single-player experiences like this. I mean, I know they're just the publisher, so it's kind of like they're probably just signing the checks. But it's shocking. There's no microtransactions. There may or may be DLC coming. I don't think there's any right now. So it's really refreshing to see this game. And to see it especially from Activision as the publisher of all companies. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? This is my biggest concern. I obviously want to go over the other games, but of course this one in the most detail. How do you feel about Activision having published the game and that it still came out phenomenally?
I I'm glad that it turned out the way that it did. Yet again, I've not played the game yet. I've only seen gameplay of it. Um, so I'm kind of glad Activision is kind of getting into the good light a little more. There's been a lot of controversy with kind of the whole Activision and kind of.
Activision Blizzard and stuff.
Yeah, just all that kind of stuff. So I mean, I'm glad to see that they're kind of getting some good light here. From the
Right.
gameplay, it looks amazing. It really does. Like I'm very into games like that, and I'm actually surprised I don't own it. But lately, I've been really reliant on Game Pass. But I think this might be one that I'll have to open the wallet for. Um, so I'm pretty happy with it. I don't really have too many deep thoughts about it. I would like to see if this is a new if this starts a new path for Activision. Maybe they'll kind of branch out a little bit more and kind of generalize their resources to give the users what they want.
Right, and I'm hoping so as well. I think that that's a really good point made, and I think that Activision probably will see the success of this, see all the awards that it's getting. I know that it's sold extremely well, and I hope that they realize that there's a market for this kind of game, and I'm sure that they do because they did publish it, but there's a market for this kind of game as well as the Call of Duties and Overwatches, which are more live service experiences as opposed to narrative driven solo player games.
Exactly.
And I just want to see them bring more content like that out. They also had really good releases with Crash Bandicoot, which we're going to get to one of the Crash Bandicoot games later on, as well as the Spyro trilogies, and then Crash Bandicoot Nitro Racing. Now, let's go ahead and go down the list here. Moving on, we have the action game, which was Devil May Cry 5. I don't think you've played this one either. I have played Devil May Cry 5. First of all, huge achievement by Capcom, bringing back the franchise in such a big way. I believe a lot of core fans of the Devil May Cry series are super excited to have seen Devil May Cry 5 come out after they made DMC. I think a lot of Devil May Cry fans were a little disappointed in that one. It's great to see this come in and then win a Game of the Year award for action game. I think it's well deserved. I got it from Game Pass on the Xbox, but I also own a copy. I believe it's still on Game Pass. So this is a Game of the Year award winner that you can play on Game Pass if you have it, and I highly suggest that you pick it up. That's not just a suggestion for Victor, that's a suggestion for any of the viewers as well.
And if you don't have Game Pass, I believe they're having a promotion right now at the date of this podcast video. There is 3 months. You can get 3 months of Game Pass for $1. So
for $1, yeah, that's a really good deal. You're gonna get hooked, so be prepared to spend money afterwards. It's a worthwhile service. Now, let's go ahead and move forward with this one. Adventure game, Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice. Obviously, it had to win in another category. I think that was well deserved as well. Art direction, we have Control. Now, I played this one too. I think Control's phenomenal. It's very interesting and very different. Remedy makes it. I know that Remedy has made a lot of these kind of critical thinking games in the past, and they continue to do so with Control. Probably the pinnacle of their career, I would say, and it's really well deserving of a Game of the Year award. I'm happy to see it get that. I don't think it sold particularly well. If you have interest in like sci-fi, Black Mirror-esque kind of stories, Control is for you, and I would highly suggest picking it up. You haven't played it or probably seen anything on it. Is that right, Victor?
You are exactly right. You're exactly right on the ball on that.
And I don't think you're alone. I think a lot of viewers are going to feel the same way. Control's really worthwhile. Check it out. It has rave reviews from tons of different people on YouTube. If I had played the game from start to finish, I would probably give it a rave review as well. Maybe we'll end up talking about it later on, but well deserving. We're going to move on to the next category here. We have audio design. Call of Duty Modern Warfare won that. They do generally have pretty good audio design with all the sounds from the weapons, and then, well, that's pretty much it. But I know they also have epic, engrossing stories and stuff like that. So
Spatial
I think for it to win audio design, exactly, yeah, not a big surprise there. Community support, Destiny 2. Bungie, as the developer, I don't know that you would consider them the publisher now. Really great story there with Destiny 2 being in the hands of Bungie. Activision let it go. Huge surprise. I cannot believe that they let it go and that Bungie still gets to work on Destiny 2. And it well deserved that community support award. I think that they've done a hell of a job keeping that game up. I haven't gone back since Forsaken, but it was a lot of fun, and I think that they have really changed that experience and grown it a lot. It means a lot more now than it did when it first released.
And I do want to add something in there. Sorry to cut you off, Nick, but I was watching
No,
this
no, no.
video about the most expensive video games created, and I believe Bungie was in that video. And I don't quote me on this. It's not a verified amount, but I believe they mentioned it somewhere in the $800 million range. Destiny 2 cost.
Wow.
Yeah, very.
It's probably. I mean, that figure I would assume is probably an estimated total of the amount that it will cost Bungie to have made Destiny 1 and 2 together and have given all this support. That would be my guess, but it's really hard to say. I mean, some of these blockbuster games are huge, and they are big, expensive endeavors.
Definitely cost.
And I understand why they're chock full of microtransactions when you hear $800 million. Anyway, let's go ahead and push forward. We have Content Creator of the Year is Shroud. I haven't seen his stuff, and I don't think you've seen his stuff either. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. But we had a coworker that really loved talking about Shroud, if you remember. So I've heard about him a lot. And I don't know any of the content creators this year other than the reference of Shroud that I have. But I'm happy to see them get the award. And then we can move on to Esports Game of the Year. This is the only esports category that I took down. I don't really have any other interest in the esport categories. I do apologize if anybody's looking for that information. You could go straight to the Game Awards page and take a look. But we're not really involved in esports, so I just wanted to mention just the game itself. It's League of Legends. I think that they win pretty typically. I hear a lot about League of Legends. Never played it. For those of you that do, chime in below.
Tell us what
we're missing out on.
I was at some point a esports gamer through game battles. If y'all remember that, any of you people, very briefly.
I never was. I don't even know what that is, but congratulations, Victor. I'm sure you made it very far, and the world will remember. We'll remember what you've delivered. Moving on, we'll go to Family Game of the Year, Luigi's Mansion 3. This one's kind of funny. I'm not going to read off all the nominees, but they're basically all Nintendo games. So Nintendo was bound to win this one. Luigi's Mansion 3, very well deserving. I heard it's an excellent entry. I have not played it. I would be I definitely will play it at some point in the future, but I have not played it yet. Looks like a great game. Fighting Game of the Year, also won by a Nintendo title. We have Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. That game technically came out in 2018, although it did come out at the end of the year. I believe it came out in December. So it couldn't be featured at the Game Awards 2018, so it was put into this one. Still a well-deserved victory, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. It's funny, I actually think that could have gone into the community support category as well, because Nintendo has released so many characters for that game. So many, it's just shocking. And then shocking the different characters they're able to get to put into Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And I love that game. I think it's great. I played a lot of it. I'm not the biggest fanatic, so don't fight me. I will lose. But I do like it. I have a lot of fun. What do you think about the Smash Brothers games, Victor? I mean, I feel like they're all relatively similar. If you played one, you got the feeling.
Yeah.
So even if you haven't played this one, maybe you have an insight.
It's super fun. It's really a great game to play when you have people over.
Excellent party game, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's by far like I've had so many great moments that I wish I'd recorded when playing this game, but I think it deserves that win. I mean, it really is a great fighting game, and on top of that, outside of the game itself, it has really good capability of bringing people together. So I think that's a huge plus to add into that as well.
For sure. Moving on, we're going to go ahead into fresh indie game. That's Disco Elysium. Now, get ready to hear that name a handful of times because it won quite a few. And I've never heard of the game, and I've never seen the game. I'm sure that we need to check it out if it's won this many awards, but good to see him win. Game direction, we have Death Stranding. I hear that's a very divisive game. I've not played it. I didn't really have an interest in it from seeing the trailers. I know a lot of people saw it and they thought, wow, how trippy, I have to buy this. And then a lot of people love Kojima, which I would say I'm probably moderately in that camp. I like Kojima. I love the Metal Gear Solid games. And at some point, I'll probably play Death Stranding. Not yet. I don't think you've played that either, have you, Victor?
No, I have not, but I have been wanting to. Hopefully soon I can get my hands on it.
So it's hard to say if it deserved it. I'm sure that it did. Games for Impact, which probably should have gone to Death Stranding. This one went to Gris, another game that I haven't played. I believe it's an indie game. And anyways, it's great to see some indie games win some of these, I think. I mean, I don't know. I feel like we've seen quite a few indie games kind of step into this category as of late. For a while, it felt like indie games were left in the dust, and as of recently, a lot of these, the big three, Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony, and then also it looks like these game, awards are recognizing that indie games can really make a huge impact, and tell really good stories even if they're not these AAA titles. So, I don't know. It's just great to see them get some recognition for their hard work. I know they're smaller studios. They make a lot less money, and they probably make a lot less sales. They still do it anyway, and we've seen some great games. So let's go ahead and move on to... Oh, no. Go ahead.
But yeah, watching that, when I watched the video of it, I know they mentioned a little bit what you mentioned earlier about indie games, how every, developer kind of started at, there at some point. So they really kind of had
small.
Yeah, it was the director of Nintendo. I could be wrong on his title, but you guys all know him. He
was actually. Sorry, I only to cut you off because it's relevant. That was Reggie of Nintendo. Reggie. He resigned earlier. I think it was this year.
Wow.
And he was the president of Nintendo of America. A lot of people love him. He's beloved by Nintendo fans and I'm sure fans of gaming. And it was great to see him come out and talk about indie games in that positive way. So it's nice to see him again, even if it wasn't to announce that he's coming back to Nintendo.
Yeah. Wow, I didn't know that. Wow.
But anyways, as you were saying.
Yeah, so he just kind of gave his little speech about indie games developers, and I thought that was really awesome. It's kind of I feel like it's really encouraging to hear that from someone who had a position really high up in a gaming company. And,
exactly.
It really, I think things are starting to change, especially with the whole new generation of games kind of starting to roll out. So I think indie games, we're going to see a lot more of them in the future, and I think they're going to be a lot better than what we used to perceive indie games are. When you see an indie game, you're like, oh, it's stick figures jumping on blocks or something, But
and that's a lot how it used to feel back in like the PS3, Xbox 360 era. And now that we have Switch, which is a great platform for indie games, and then we also have lots of good indie games on PS4 and Xbox One, and then they're getting a lot more support, and they feel like these very unique, timeless experiences because they're not based around who has the prettiest graphics and effects. They're mostly based around this impact, right? And so I think that it is really great to see all these indie games get recognition. I feel like in years prior, other indie games probably should have got recognition that maybe didn't. And so I think moving forward, we're probably going to see a little bit more, or at least in this vein, a handful of indie games always make a big enough impact that they, get to throw down in the ring against these AAA publishers and games. Right?
Exactly. And on a personal note, I do want to thank you, Nick, for actually opening my eyes to a lot of the indie games. I've seen them before. I always skim past them, but the last couple podcasts we played a couple indie games, and it was really
and they're
good.
a lot of fun.
Yeah. A lot of fun. Like, give it a shot, people. If you haven't tried it, just skimmed it over, just try one. You might just like it.
Right, absolutely. One of the games from this list is probably not gonna do you wrong. Really good suggestion. My favorite indie game that I've ever played, Hollow Knight. That game is just so good. Dead Cells, very close second. Now those games didn't come out this year. Still good suggestions to get you started, and then to build your way into perhaps the next indie game. which is on the list for independent game. The winner of that was Disco Elysium, something that Victor and I still need to play.
Yes.
So that's the independent game of the year was Disco Elysium. I'm going to push forward here to mobile game, which was Call of Duty Mobile. Now, I don't want to criticize too heavily. I'm not a big mobile gamer anyway, other than Clash of Clans, which is just embarrassing. But as far as mobile games go, I'm super disappointed that I didn't see like an Apple Arcade game on here. I'm not saying that because I'm a huge Apple fanboy, which I obviously am, but I'm saying that because I don't understand. Like we saw some great games, especially like Oceanhorn 2, and there's a game that I played on there that I'm not gonna reference because it's really hard to say the name, but I don't really remember it anyway. But there were great games that don't have microtransactions in them.
Mhm.
And I know Call of Duty Mobile has microtransactions in it. And I just don't I don't know, I don't really like seeing games like that win awards, but it is what it is. If you enjoy it, go on and enjoy it. Don't listen to my criticisms and think that you should stop playing. That's just my thoughts. Speaking of microtransactions, the next game, multiplayer game of the year, was Apex Legends. I know that they have some cosmetics in there. I don't really have a big problem with that. I know that the game is free to play. Heard a lot of great things about Apex Legends, never played it. I know it's from Respawn Entertainment, which made Titanfall 2. That was a great game. Sad to see that it didn't really do very well. If you have PlayStation Plus, you can download that game. Also made by the developers of Apex Legends. But we've heard great things about it. I don't think you've ever played it, have you, Victor? Or am I wrong?
I've dabbled in it a little bit. I'm not really much for those kind of games lately. I don't know. It's just not really feeling it. But it is a great game.
Yeah.
I will give it that. It is not a bad game. It's definitely a nice twist compared to Fortnite. As you can see, it obviously has potential. So it's really
right.
Good. I think it's good.
Yeah, I'm happy to see that too. I wanted to see. I believe that it actually went up against someone else that I thought it was kind of shocking that they won. I'm really a little bit surprised to see that it beat out Borderlands 3, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and Tom Clancy's The Division 2. I'm kind of shocked to see that it won against such other games. And I only referenced that one because I was a little surprised it ended up coming up on top. But we'll move on into the narrative category, which was won again by Disco Elysium, taking all the awards home. I think that Disco Elysium won more than any other game.
I think so.
Yeah, I've said it so many times that game is just burned into your brain.
If you don't know what it is, you've at least heard it before.
Yes, absolutely. You certainly have now. So let's go ahead and push on into the next category, which is ongoing game. That one went to Fortnite. I played Fortnite when it first came out. I'm not a big fan of Fortnite anymore. So I don't want to say that I'm disappointed to see it win, but I am disappointed that something like Destiny 2 didn't win, which I feel like has a lot of staying power. Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six didn't win, which I think, again, has a lot of staying power. I think that maybe one of those would have been more deserving. But congratulations, Fortnite. You make all the money and have all the players and the awards. So let's do the next category is performance in a game. This one is for the actor that portrayed a game character. A lot of great picks in there, but it went to Mads Mikkelsen in Death Stranding. Now, we haven't seen that performance. I'm sure that it was great. He's an excellent actor, and I'm glad to see that he won.
Yeah,
so next one we have over Norman. Yeah, I'm sure that some people are upset. I'm sure that some people wanted to see Norman win. Mads Mikkelsen took it home. Anyways, I think it's probably well deserved. Role-playing game. Again, Disco Elysium. Give them all the awards. I feel like if Disco Elysium's in a category,
is there enough shelf
it won,
space?
but I'm sure that it's well deserved. We have got to play this game. It's obvious to me that this is super important.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm really shocked to see that one won that category because there's been some great ones this year.
There really has,
two contenders that went up against that I'm shocked by was Monster Hunter World Iceborne and The Outer Worlds. Two excellent games which both just had all the positivity cast on them and, rave reviews, all kinds of stuff. I barely heard about Disco Elysium. It beat Monster Hunter Iceborne. It beat The Outer Worlds. I'm shocked.
Kingdom
Again,
Hearts.
got to pick it up.
Yeah.
Kingdom Hearts, not too shocked by that. A lot of people were disappointed in Kingdom Hearts 3, so that one doesn't throw me for a loop. But nonetheless,
Yeah.
on to the next. We have Score and Music, which was won by Death Stranding. We had Sports/Racing Game, which was won by Crash Team Racing. I cannot tell you how excited that I am that it beat out the other games. I mean, I don't think any of the other games were really well deserving because they're like yearly franchises at this point, except for Dirt Rally. I'm sorry, Dirt Rally 2.0. But Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled is so fun. If you haven't played it, I cannot suggest it any higher. I think it's even more fun than Mario Kart. I'm sure that it will be contested heavily by anybody that listens to us talk about these games. But Crash Team Racing, give it a shot. It is so fun. It is so worth the money. It's only $40. Sometimes you can find it on sale. Excellent, excellent game. Super well deserved. Next one we have strategy game. I'm also going to talk too much about this. Fire Emblem Three Houses won that, and I'm so happy to see that they won that. Fire Emblem Three Houses is phenomenal. Nintendo did an amazing job on that game. It went up against games like Tropico 6, Wargroove, Total War Three Kingdoms. I guess I may as well say the other two, but I don't really know what they are. Anno 1800, and then Age of Wonders, Planetfall. I think it went up against some stiff competition, but I think it deserved that victory so much. I'm so happy to see it get that. And then we're on to our very last game. I'm sorry, I just skipped over Victor's opinion on that. I know he doesn't have a Switch, so he can't really say much about Fire Emblem. I'm sorry.
Hey, don't
Victor.
assume. I had an opinion. It was great. Next.
It was great. You know that it was great because of the way that I just talked about it.
Exactly.
So, last game on the list, VR/AR game, Beat Saber. Won that one. I've heard so many great things about Beat Saber. I do not have a VR. For some reason, I keep contemplating getting a VR, but I just don't think that I will. Maybe if they have like a second generation. I don't have...
You don't need a PC.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. I know. That's a good point. Maybe someday. But anyways, those were the winners. You got to hear a couple of the nominees. We didn't go over all of them. We don't want to make this overly long. I think a lot of them were really well deserved. I'm happy to see many of these games win. I think it was pretty great this year, but I noticed that a lot of games were in a lot of categories. Just for instance, the games listed for Game of the Year, I'm sure rightfully so, are in tons and tons of the categories. First of all, we saw Disco Elysium win so many awards.
Yes.
But Control's in a lot of spaces. Death Stranding, Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, Resident Evil. We saw those games in lots of categories as nominees this year. Still think it was pretty good. I think it was a good year for gaming. What do you think overall?
Yeah.
End of the day, Game of the Year awards.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. Sorry, I just wanted to state that it was my first time really kind of I guess watching a
Getting
game
engrossed in it.
Yeah, I really getting engrossed in it. I'm usually just kind of E3 and done, but I was pretty impressed. I mean, I liked a lot of the videos. Videos were nice about the world premieres. I thought the contenders for these categories were really, really great. I honestly wish I'd voted in it because if I paid more attention to it, I could get more involved, which I think next year I definitely will be voting in this.
You might do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see that.
So I'm very happy with it. I didn't have any disappointments. It was only kind of good things coming up. So I'm very satisfied.
I'd say so as well. I think it's overly long. I think they could easily shorten it by at least an hour. It's very ad ridden, which is kind of disappointing. I mean, a lot of these are brought
Linus
up by presented. Oh yeah, I saw that. I mean, I like Linus, but at the same time, it's like presented by Samsung, presented by Subway, which I can't really. I don't want to complain too much. It's nice to have the Game Awards. If this is the only way that we get them, then I understand. But there are a lot of ads, and there were even ads when I was like watching the live feed and stuff. Well, I think there were ads when I was watching the live feed, at least when I tuned in. Anyways, I think it's worthwhile. I think it's worth watching. Again, like I said, I'd probably just get the news after the fact. Sometimes there's some big reveals. For the most part, we just saw like a couple trailers. I don't think we really got any like huge release dates or really huge news. I think that we're going to see a lot of that crop up from independent events from like the publisher themselves or from E3 perhaps. One big reveal that we had, which I want to talk about before we get going here, is the Xbox Series X. Now, I think that we could talk in greater detail about this another time. I do want to throw out there that you can watch. GameSpot has an exclusive on, I believe, one of the people that work at GameStop. One of the editors got to chat with Phil Spencer about the Xbox Series X. They have a lot of information on it. I highly suggest you check out GameSpot's video there. I don't love all the content they do. That was pretty good. Yep. I do want to say, this is just our thoughts on it. Tower design, really interesting.
Yes.
Doesn't look as big as a PC.
Game changer.
But I'm not sure that I like it. I think you like it. I don't know how I feel about it yet. I think it'll take up, like, I have my PlayStation, my Xbox, like, side by side, but they're these slim rectangles that just fit right next to each other on the desk. I'm not sure that I could do that with an Xbox Series X. I also, so we didn't see we saw a launch window, holiday 2020, we already knew that. We didn't know the name, we didn't get to see what the box looked like before, so it's exciting to see those two things. Project Scarlet. So anyways, the Xbox Series X, I think it's an interesting name. I don't know. I think it's going to confuse consumers because they have the Xbox One X, and then we're going to have the Xbox Series X. I think it makes sense that they did a different design style because at least you'll understand that it's a different item. Yeah. So anyways, that was a big one. Really exciting. Look into that if you haven't already. There's a lot of other information on that. We're not going to talk too much about it, like already released stuff. But anyways, moving on, I only wanted to like touch on a handful of these last ones so that we can not make this video too overly long for all of you. They showed off some Hellblade 2. Got a game called Godfall coming out. Bravely Default 2 is coming out, which is really exciting. I'm excited for that. Control has a free update. I believe that already has been released, and I think they have a season pass now. Ruin King is a League of Legends single-player experience that got shown off and is expected to come out at some point. Ghosts of Tsushima had a full trailer. Looked like it was a gameplay trailer, like in-engine gameplay, and it looked phenomenal. Has a summer 2020 release window, which is great, although I think that was already pretty expected. They showed off some Gears of War Tactics. I think that looks fun. 9 to 5 was a new game that was shown off. It was just a brief trailer.
That looked pretty good.
We had a new trailer for... Yeah, it looked interesting. I think it's X-Remedy devs that are working on that, and that's interesting. It gave me a Control vibe. I almost thought it was Control DLC when they showed off the trailer. Anyway, we also had a trailer for New World. It's an MMO from Amazon Games. I'm going to be excited to see that one because it's really interesting to me that Amazon is working... It like has a game studio working on this stuff, and I'm really intrigued by that. They showed off Surgeon Simulator 2. They showed off a Fast and the Furious Crossroads game. That was interesting because they had 2 stars from Fast and the Furious come out. Vin Diesel being one of the stars, which was shocking to me. Right, exactly. Thank you. We also had a game called Convergence showed off. I'm sorry, I don't know a ton about all these games. No More Heroes 3 was, I don't know if that was announced or was just shown off. That is interesting because they did have a No More Heroes, I think like Travis Returns or something, which I don't think was super well received. Now, the best announcement, in my opinion, Wolf Among Us 2. I'm so excited. I cannot believe that game has a revival. That made the whole Game Awards worth it for me. That like 48-second trailer made everything worth it to me. I'm extremely excited to see that come back. I'm extremely intrigued. I have no idea what's going on. I know Telltale was gone, so I don't really know how they're coming back to revisit The Wolf Among Us, but I'm glad that that's the one that they're coming back for. Or at least whoever is picking it up or bought the Telltale name or whatever happened there.
Yeah, and I wanted to mention big news from this conference. Keanu Reeves was not there. So just wanted to let you know that he was not there.
He was not there, so it wasn't as good as E3. Period. No more. They just don't need any more information than that. Keanu Reeves confirmed was not at the Game Awards. overall, I think it was pretty good. I like seeing these world premieres. I think that expectations need to be like reset on the Game Awards because sometimes they're great, sometimes they're okay. As far as like these world premieres and stuff like that, I feel like you kind of have to understand that obviously you're going to see more exciting news at E3 because that's what the event's made for. This is made for games that has already come out, and it's showcasing stuff that exists. So they're kind of, just giving awards to the games that earn them and that have already been shown off and released and are awesome. So I like that the Game Awards has these like world premieres and stuff. I never expect too much of them, so it's nice to just get anything, honestly, at this point. But
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. So, anyways, I think it was pretty good, and I know you enjoyed it too. We'll go ahead and end the video there. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we look forward to bringing you all kinds of new content in the future.
Please stick with us. Follow, join, save, whatever on your platform. Just be with us. You won't regret it.
Yes, exactly. Throw some comments down below. We'd love to get some. We would really enjoy some constructive criticism or just talking about games, and we'll have a fun time doing that with you if you drop any comments. Thank you so much for watching. We look forward to bringing you more stuff soon and to see you again next time.